Even though you think the Royal Rumble only finished a whisker ago, now we have another pay-per-view because, as we all know, WWE absolutely loves pay-per-views. And then we've got Fastlane. Only then do we get to WrestleMania. I tell you this, the road to WrestleMania can be a long old slog. But forget all that, because my name is Simon Miller. You are watching What Culture Wrestling. And let's put the Elimination Chamber to bed by giving the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. But some housekeeping before we begin, and I will remind you of this on every episode of Ups and Downs this week, just so you're prepared. Next week, I ain't going to be here doing Ups and Downs. I'm going to be away, and your man Adam Cleary is going to take my place for 1 week only, so don't be surprised when you do tune in and you don't see this smiling face. Let's up those downs. A big up for the pre-show that did indeed see Akira Tozawa take on Buddy Murphy for his Cruiserweight Championship. And look, WWE, if you actually started to promote this a bit more and shine some importance on it, maybe we'd all start to tune in to 205 Live. Because again, not only do you put these championship matches on the Kickoff show, but halfway through this one, we just cut to a Kofi Kingston interview. And I love Kofi Kingston. What a way to remind you, you don't have to buy into this. We don't really care, but still, like we said, up. Murphy did win after Murphy's Law. Got it right this time, didn't call it the Murphy effect. And that's what now for Buddy Murphy? A 5-month title reign in WWE. That ain't too shabby. But again, no one else seems to give two hoots other than me. I'm the hooter. Main card then got going properly, and we did begin with the Women's Elimination Chamber match for those brand new Women's Tag Team Championships. So you did get the Hug and Boss connection, taking on Fire and Desire to start. But you also had Tamina and Nia Jax, you also had the Riott Squad, you also had the Iconics, and you had Naomi and Carmella. Now, given what some people's expectations were going into this, I'm happy and pleased to tell you it absolutely smashed those, and it was a decent match all in all. In fact, it was a good one. I enjoyed it. Give it enough. Order of entry after our two beginners did go the Riott Squad, the Iconics, then Naomi and Carmella, and finally Tamina and Nia Jax. WWE did a pretty good job in booking those two monsters. Not only did they both destroy everyone, but as soon as Billy and Peyton had realised what was going on, they just legged it back into their pod. There ain't nothing wrong with focusing on story, especially because when Tamina and Nia had dealt with everybody else, they went and got the Iconics and swung them into the cage like they were a couple of, I don't know, baseball bats. Otherwise, as stated, it was just a pretty good chamber match that was only brought down by the fact we had to keep hearing Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose called Fire and Desire, which is the worst tag team name I've heard for some time, especially because when you abbreviate it, it spells fad. And isn't that ironic? There was the odd story moment, such as when Mandy Rose and Naomi finally squared off. They were staring each other down, and Naomi started coming in there with the fisticuffs. But you know what happened to said Naomi after she finally got a little bit of revenge on the woman that had tried to break up her marriage? The Iconics just rolled her up, meaning Naomi and Carmella were the first team out of there. And I wonder why that happened. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, go and read the internet. The Iconics were out next after the aforementioned attack by Nia Jax and Tamina. And for some reason, the Riott Squad just climbed up onto one of the pods, but the splashes they gave out from up there were pretty badass. As did the top rope Samoan drop and big splash by Nia and Tamina onto the Riott Squad. That also meant that Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan were kicked out of there. And when I do say that the top rope splash by Tamina looked good, what I meant to say was it was as if someone in the back had said, if you don't do this move, Tamina, we're going to fire you. It looked like she'd rather done anything else. Eventually, Jax got taken out when Bayley sidestepped her charge, which meant she went crashing into one of the pods, and that left Tamina all by herself, and eventually the last four women in the match pinned her. And during that part, Corey Graves said, this is the first time I've ever seen Tamina look concerned. That is not true, Corey Graves. As we've established here before in Ups and Downs, she permanently looks like she thinks she's left the oven on. Wrapping it all up, Sasha Banks tapped out Sonya Deville after the Banks statement, and that was the right result in a match that, like I say, was a lot of fun. There's some other stuff we probably could jump into, but you can kind of guess. It was an Elimination Chamber match, but overall, when we got to the finish line, I was satisfied, and I like being satisfied. Last mention to Michael Cole, who also said as soon as Nia Jax and Tamina came out of their pods, here comes the irresistible force, took a pause and said, oh yeah, and Tamina is here as well. Way to bury wrestlers, Michael Cole. Yet more titles changing hands on the Elimination Chamber PPV, because then we had The Miz and Shane McMahon defending their tag titles against the Usos. And yeah, the Usos won, which probably means now we can say for sure that at WrestleMania 35 we will get The Miz versus Shane McMahon after some shenanigans. Either way, to get it up. The match was decent, and beforehand we had Maryse come out to announce that The Miz and Maryse are expecting their second child, and that's nice, so well done to them. But imagine we had like a personal announcement segment on every pay-per-view from here on out. They'd probably all go on for around about 10 hours. Oh, this one was actually only around about 3 hours 16. 3:16. Nothing wrong with that. In terms of the match, the bit you probably want to focus on is after Shane McMahon got the hot tag, he went to hit a couple of coast-to-coasts. But on the second one, Jay just rose from the ashes and super kicked him right in the face. But that also meant Shane McMahon had to get revenge on him, so dropped that big elbow drop from the top rope through the announce table. That always looks devastating. The strangest part of the match was the finish. The Miz hit Jimmy with the skull-crashing finale, which, don't forget, is his finishing move, and Jimmy just reversed it mid-pin and got the result himself and took home the Tag Team Championship. So yes, when you break that right down, The Miz's finishing move is so bad, he was at a disadvantage. There was some sadness afterwards as The Miz and Shane McMahon tried to console each other, but you could just smell it in the air. Who is gonna be the bad guy? And I ain't referring to Scott Hall. Although when you do say that, let's not forget that nobody saw Kevin Nash injecting himself into that CM Punk angle a few years ago. Oh dear. Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush was up next, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking in my predictions, because of course WWE was going to do this, and of course it was darn well stupid. Take that finger, point it that way, get it down. The point is, Finn Balor became your new Intercontinental Champion after he hit the coup de grace on Lio Rush and pinned him, despite him not being the champion, to win the title for himself. And I get it, that protects Bobby Lashley, and now he can go and do whatever it is that Bobby Lashley wants to do. But that is really, really stupid. And also, it doesn't help that right now the IC title feels like it's worth nothing. It feels like a can of beans would be worth more, and that makes me sad. If I had the ability to cry, I'd be crying right now. That was kind of it really too. Lio Rush kept pretending he wanted to be in the match until Finn Balor got back on the offensive. Then he'd tag in Bobby Lashley, and afterwards Lashley was so mad, he was so pissed off, he beat up Lio Rush. So I guess that's probably the end of that. Or maybe not, who knows. We can get to Raw later on, and WWE can just forget about that, because they do it all the time. It's another down 2 for Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. Poor Ruby Riott. Down. If it wasn't bad enough that there was no build towards this at all, the match itself was really short. Ronda Rousey just turned up, Ruby Riott just turned up. Eventually she found herself in an armbar, she tapped out, and then we just went back to not caring about Ruby Riott. Why did we even book this match? Thankfully, it was building to an angle that was a lot better, and that angle gets it up. Charlotte had been watching from ringside, as she has said beforehand, because she wanted to know who her WrestleMania 35 opponent was going to be. When she found out it was Ronda Rousey, she got up, and they started to have a stare down, and then from nowhere, here came Becky Lynch, the suspended Becky Lynch. She now has crutches because her knee got re-injured at a house show recently, courtesy of Charlotte Flair, and she sure as hell wasn't in a good mood. That led to Becky attacking Charlotte with one of her crutches as Ronda Rousey watched on from the side, but because we can't make our other baby faces look smart in WWE, as Becky encouraged Ronda to do the same to Charlotte, Becky Lynch just sideswiped her and then started to beat up Rousey with a crutch too. Why nobody arrived during any of this to remove the illegal Becky Lynch, I don't know, but at this point someone in the back went, oh wait, she's not meant to be on the show, somebody get out there and stop her. And while I am mucking around a little bit, like I say, this was a great little bit, the fans absolutely lapped it up, and just for some extra trivia, Ronda Rousey was dressed as Sonya Deville from the Mortal Kombat series because she's voicing her in Mortal Kombat 11 that comes out later in the year. That's geeky and nerdy, and I like it. Also, I don't think Becky Lynch knows how to use crutches. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it already. It was so weird, I was dying with laughter. She looked like some kind of crab. Then things just fell off a cliff. So much so, it's not just a down, but it's a brown down. The reason for that is because it was Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman, a match I think I've seen 7,226 times, and I just couldn't get into it at all, especially it was a no DQ, so you already know what happened. Drew McIntyre came out. For some reason, Bobby Lashley came out, even though he should have been in the back, being really pissed that he lost his IC Championship, and they all started to beat down Braun Strowman, because apparently that's the only booking plans we have for Braun Strowman ever. Well, you don't want to beat him, but at the same time he's in a match, so I guess he has to be beaten by some nefarious means. Let's have a bunch of dudes go out there and hit him with weapons. So they did that, and they used stairs, chairs, and tables. And don't get me wrong, the way they did put him down was cool. They set up a couple of tables, and then they had the steel stairs, and they all climbed up, and they gave Braun Strowman a triple powerbomb through all that. But yeah, it does mean the monster among men, the man that can't be beaten, lost again, and Baron Corbin was standing tall with his two cronies. It felt so pointless, I think I'd have rather spent the time eating my own face. There was some teasing before our main event as well, as we did cut backstage to The Miz and Shane McMahon, and they were having a big row because The Miz, he couldn't believe what he'd done, and Shane McMahon just wanted to calm down, to the point McMahon even said, Miz, or Mike, because it's a serious angle, so use his real name, you've got to go home, and I'll see you on Tuesday again. Smell it. Lacey Evans then returned to WWE TV in what must be one of the most surreal segments we have seen in ages, because her music hit, she came out, she went to the bottom of the ramp, she did a little twirl, she went back up the ramp, and she just left. Again, it was like someone backstage went, well, you haven't had Lacey Evans out there in ages, do something now, we've got 3 minutes, just let her do like a catwalk. This sucked down. However, we then transition from all this nonsense into our last match on the show, and it doesn't just get an up, it gets, well, usually, that's where I'd say golden up. However, out of respect for Daniel Bryan, and the gold isn't really a sustainable thing, this week we're gonna give it a wooden up, because I know how much Daniel Bryan likes wood. So the SmackDown Men's Elimination Chamber match, getting a wooden up. Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan kicked things off, and then they were joined by, in this order, Kofi Kingston, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Orton. And no matter what pairing you got, or no matter what 3-way or 4-way or 5-way or whatever, everybody was just going all out to ensure this was a damn good Elimination Chamber match, and they succeeded. Some of the ways they used the structure too was really innovative. For example, at one point, Bryan, he was climbing all over the place, and AJ Styles hit him with a phenomenal forearm. It looked brutal. I then took my toys and threw them out my pram, because clearly WWE and I are never going to see Samoa Joe in the same way, because as you've already probably figured out, he was the first person to get eliminated. He got hit with just a normal phenomenal forearm, and that was that. And how am I meant to cope? How am I meant to sleep at night knowing that happened? I have to do the only thing I do have at my disposal, the power I have. So WWE, in the middle of a match, that gets it down. Jeff Hardy only really felt like he was in there for around about a minute. I mean, it wasn't a very long time at all before Daniel Bryan smashed him in the face with a knee, and he was gone. And then when AJ Styles went to do another phenomenal forearm, Randy Orton stopped him, he grabbed him right there on the rope, and he gave him an RKO, and Orton got rid of AJ Styles, which adds a lot of credence to the fact that WrestleMania 35, maybe that's our match. I'm alright with it. Orton then had things turned up on him because he went to hit an RKO on Kofi Kingston, who turned it into the Trouble Paradise and pinned the Viper, which set up our last two, Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. As you can imagine, everybody in the crowd, and me, myself too, actually started to believe maybe they're actually going to pull an audible and give it to Kofi Kingston. WWE did a great job in putting that in your brain too, much like they did a few years ago with Santino Marella. And I tell you, after one SOS, it was so close, Kofi came so close, the whole place almost burned down from the excitement, but it wasn't meant to be. And Daniel Bryan eventually hit the running knee. 1, 2, 3. He is still your environmentally friendly WWE Champion. That was that, and a small part of me was a little bit upset because I kind of have to think all of this was meant for Mustafa Ali, and that would have lit a fire under his ass and given him a huge push. But either way, it was unbelievably awesome to see Kofi put in this position, and afterwards, all the fans chanted, "Thank you, Kofi," even though he's not retiring. That's usually what we chant when people are retiring. He just reminded us that he's really good after being a goof with pancakes for the last few years. And speaking about, the New Day came out and they all hold up his hand. This was his moment. It was really nice. It was like Christmas come early if when you get to Christmas, you want to see Kofi Kingston used in the right way on WWE TV. Which brings us to the end of the Elimination Chamber, and given that it was just a B pay-per-view that a lot of people had poo-pooed before it even began, it was actually alright. And if you're a bit bored, maybe later today or on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, and you just want something to do, I think you'll enjoy it. Like, there was some absolute crap on there, but the two Elimination Chambers probably make it worth it alone. Either way, look, if it's better than I was expecting, and I wasn't expecting much, I'm a happy guy. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the Elimination Chamber. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and you're already on a YouTube channel. Go and watch more wrestling videos. You'll enjoy it. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you come back tomorrow and watch Ups and Downs for Raw, and then the day after that to watch Ups and Downs for SmackDown, because if you don't complete the trifecta, the world will explode. You don't want the world to explode, so I'll see you soon.